All right, let's jump right into this explainer with a quick question for you. True or false? Let your conscience be your guide. You know, it's a phrase we hear absolutely everywhere, right? From Disney movies to everyday advice from well-meaning friends. We tend to treat it like this universal law of morality. But is it actually true?
Well, the answer is a resounding false. I know, that probably creates some immediate cognitive dissonance. It feels kind of wrong to even say out loud. But relying on your conscience as your ultimate moral guide is practically and biblically false. In fact, doing so can actually lead you wildly off track.
So welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking some really profound insights from Dr. Gary Meadors' theological lecture on the role of conscience. We are going to completely dismantle everything you thought you knew about that little voice in your head, and we'll rebuild it using a precise biblical framework. Let's get into it.
Part 1. The Great Conscience Myth, the Infallible Voice.
The absolute biggest mistake we make is treating the conscience as an infallible inner voice. You know what I mean? Some people treat it like this private audience room where God, or sometimes even the devil, speaks directly to us, telling us exactly what we should do. And this quote right here brilliantly illustrates the danger of that kind of thinking. I just do what the little voices tell me to do. It sounds cute, maybe a little quirky, right? But as Dr. Meadors points out in his lecture, serial murderers also do what the little voices tell them to do. Even outside of those extreme examples, we all know people who are malicious gossips or highly manipulative, and yet they feel completely at peace with their actions. So if the inner voice is always right, how in the world could that be?
To figure out why, we've got to look at the Apostle Paul. Over in 1 Corinthians 4:4, Paul does some pretty deep self-reflection, and he concludes, "My conscience is clear, but that does not make me innocent. It is the Lord who judges me." This right here is the crux of the entire argument. Paul is literally saying, hey, my internal monitor isn't bringing up any errors, but I might still be wrong. A clear conscience simply does not equal innocence.
Cop culture tries to tell us the conscience is a guide, a judge, or the literal voice of God. But the biblical text paints a totally different picture. It tells us the conscience is simply a monitor. It's a witness. It's a God-given capacity for self-reflection. It is, quite literally, just you talking to yourself.
Section 2. Not a judge, a witness.
So, if the conscience isn't the judge, what exactly is it? Well, Dr. Meadors insists we need to look at it purely as a witness. Now, here's his actual, pretty dense academic definition straight from page 6 of his lecture notes. It's definitely a mouthful, built after hours of rigorous textual study. But don't worry, we aren't going to get bogged down in all the heavy academic jargon today. Let's break this down into something we can immediately grasp.
Okay, here's the simplified version. Conscience is a critical inner awareness, a witness in reference to norms and values that we recognize and apply. So, the absolutely crucial point is that word right in the middle, witness. The conscience does not create the rules. It doesn't write the laws. It merely witnesses to the laws and values that you have already chosen to accept.
Moving on to Section 3, the courtroom of the mind.
To really get how this internal witness operates, picture a courtroom right inside your head. The judge sitting up there on the bench, that's your worldview and your values. The witness taking the stand, that is your conscience. And the verdict that comes out at the end is the meaning or the action you ultimately take. Your conscience only testifies about whether your current actions align with your internal judge. It answers entirely to your established worldview.
And wow, does that lead us to a fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying reality. A skewed worldview creates a skewed peace. Think about it. If someone is deeply committed to atheism, their worldview says there is no God and no ultimate moral accountability. Well, their conscience witnesses to that reality, so they feel perfect peace ignoring biblical laws. The exact same goes for a toxic person in a church. If their worldview justifies their manipulation, their conscience isn't going to bother them one bit. The witness is just agreeing with a corrupt judge.
All right, Section 4. Your internal computer software.
Let's pivot to a modern computer analogy to really lock in how this processing works. Walk through these steps with me. Step 1. Data comes in from the outside world. Step 2. That data gets processed through your worldview, which is essentially your internal software. Step 3. Your conscience acts as the system monitor, checking to ensure that the data aligns with your installed software. And Step 4. It outputs meaning. But here is the kicker. Your conscience cannot rise any higher than the software it's programmed with. If you have outdated or corrupted software, your monitor is absolutely going to give you bad readouts.
Dr. Meadors uses this brilliant biblical example from 1 Corinthians 10 to show this exact software in action. Let's compare the weak brother and the strong brother. They both look at meat that was offered to idols. The weak brother, he has old software. He still thinks idols actually have power. So his monitor, his conscience, makes him feel horribly convicted if he eats it. Now the strong brother has a transformed, upgraded worldview. He knows idols are literally nothing. So his monitor tells him he is perfectly free to eat. The action is exactly the same, but the software dictates the conscience's reaction.
This is exactly why Paul writes this absolutely incredible instruction in 1 Corinthians 10:25. Eat whatever is sold in the meat market without raising any question on the grounds of conscience. Paul is effectively telling us, stop asking your conscience for permission. Your conscience isn't the authority here. If you have questions, interrogate the validity of your worldview, not your feelings.
Which brings us to Section 5, upgrading your worldview.
So if the conscience isn't the guide, and a bad worldview leads us astray, what's the solution? Well, you've got to do the hard work of upgrading your mind. Dr. Meadors shares a really relatable personal anecdote about this. Growing up, he learned about billiards in the context of what he viewed as sinful bars. Years later, he saw pool tables at a Christian servicemen's center and felt immediate, deep internal conviction. His conscience was screaming at him. But he eventually realized his software had a bug. The problem wasn't the pool tables at all. It was the context he had originally associated them with. Once he updated his worldview to understand the game itself was completely neutral, it still took some time, but his conscience eventually adjusted to the new reality.
And that perfectly encapsulates this whole concept of the transformed mind. True discernment doesn't come from blindly trusting your subjective feelings or some supposed peace in your heart. True discernment comes from constantly educating, challenging, and reprogramming your worldview using Scripture. When you align your worldview, the judge, with biblical truth, your conscience, the witness, will finally start giving you reliable testimony.
So we're going to wrap up this explainer with one final pretty provocative question for you to chew on. Who is programming your conscience? Think about it. If you aren't actively doing the hard work of educating your worldview through careful study and reflection, then the culture around you is quietly installing its own software right into your mind. Don't let your conscience be your guide. Let a biblically transformed mind be your guide, and let your conscience simply be the witness. Thanks so much for joining me for this deep dive. Now go start upgrading that mental software today.